Welcome to the Give and Go. My name's Tim, and today on 32 for 32, we're introducing a new segment called Touchdown Time.
Touchdown Raiders!
And basically, we're going to go through all the off-season news we can in 7 minutes. So to start off, we're going to talk about the ACL epidemic that's been hitting the league so far. 8 players have already gone down with ACL tears and will be out for the season. Those include notable names of Dominique Easley and Forrest Lamp, who Dominique Easley, he signed a new contract to begin the season. He was doing really well after he got traded by the Patriots to them. And the horrible thing is that back at Florida while he was in college, he also tore both ACLs and both knees. So we'll see how he recovers from there. Forrest Lamp, the Charger rookie, is also out for the season with a torn ACL. And Dan Feeney, the other rookie, has to fill in his place after Orlando Franklin was cut earlier this offseason. Other major injury news: Kenneth Dixon, Crockett Gilmore, Dennis Pitta, Nico Siragusa, and a bunch of other players have been out for the Ravens this offseason. Kenneth Dixon will be out for the year, so will Crockett Gilmore, Dennis Pitta, and Nico Siragusa, after basically the injury bug hit that team real hard. Joe Flacco was feared to be out the first 6 games of the season, but he's recovered and he just needed some time of rest. Other teams that have been hit with the injury bug have been the Broncos, with Devontae Booker and Shane Ray may be missing a couple games. The Chargers, with Forrest Lamp and Mike Williams, will probably miss about 6 games with a back injury. And the Saints, who unfortunately Nick Fairley will probably end his career after having a heart condition detected by the team during his physical. And Teron Armstead, their left tackle, will mix the first 6 games. In other news, Will Fuller also broke his collarbone, which he'll probably be out towards November, which Braxton Miller and Jalen Strong will play opposite of DeAndre Hopkins as Deshaun Watson tries to develop. And Taylor Decker, the left tackle of the Lions, will probably be out 6 to 8 games with a shoulder injury, and Greg Robinson, who they traded for from the Rams, will probably try to fill in along with Cyrus Kouandjio. So that's the ACL epidemic. Front office shakeups have been occurring all across the league this offseason, starting with the Buffalo Bills. They did not fire Doug Whaley after Sean McDermott was hired to replace Rex Ryan, but they did fire him back in May, and they brought in Brandon Mean, the assistant GM of the Panthers at that time, and he will oversee a whole entire new regime there in Buffalo. The Chiefs also surprisingly fired their GM John Dorsey back in June after Jeremy Maclin was surprisingly cut and the owner had enough with him, as he didn't cultivate relationships with the players at all. The surprising thing was, at the time, they had Chris Ballard on the team back in January when they could have fired him at the regular time to fire GMs, but they decided to let that go and they fired him back in June, and so they hired Brett Veach to replace him. The most surprising offseason front office shakeup has been Dave Gettleman and the Panthers, as he was fired in July, which is basically the latest a GM has ever been fired. And they brought in Marty Herney, the former Panthers GM, to replace him. And that has been an interesting dynamic after Dave Gettleman let Steve Smith walk, cut D'Angelo Williams, let Josh Norman go on the franchise tag. He was very hardline math statistics, and he did not build relationships at all with any of the players. And it was very unfortunate because they did very well under Dave Gettleman, but he is out and Marty Herney comes in as an interim GM. Players that have been getting paid this offseason, we're looking at Lael Collins, Glover Quinn, Everson Griffin receiving a 4-year, $58 million contract. In addition, Xavier Rhodes had a 5-year, $70 million contract. The Vikings are handing out a bunch of money. Trey Turner, after Dave Gettleman got fired, got a 4-year, $45 million extension. Cam Chancellor got a 3-year, $36 million extension to play with Earl Thomas back there in the Legion of Boom. So they should have the 3 core pieces, Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor back there for years to come. Julian Edelman also received an $11 million extension along with Alejandro Villanueva, who has a restricted free agent held out, and he got the money he wanted with a $24 million extension. Brandon Linder got an extension from the Jacksonville Jaguars, as well as Jarrell Casey, a $60 million extension from the Tennessee Titans. Melvin Ingram also got an extension after being put on the franchise tag earlier this offseason, getting a $50 million deal as well. But there are other players that deserve to get paid. NFL GMs, if you are listening, Pay these men. OBJ needs to be paid the highest wide receiver ever in NFL history. Anthony Barr and Linval Joseph need to get paid after Everson Griffin and Xavier Rhodes got paid by the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, don't even get me started. Washington, pay your man. Thomas Davis, Devonta Freeman need to get paid, and it's been heard that Devonta Freeman's contract negotiations have been held up. Greg Olsen, he said that he's not going to hold out, in which he didn't, and he said that he's going to let his contract play through. Aaron Donald currently holding out, as well as Dwayne Brown and Donald Penn for new contracts. And Matthew Stafford, Malcolm Butler, and Khalil Mack need to get paid. Pay these men. Finally, on touchdown time, we're going to talk about the dumpster fire of the New York Jets. They say they're not tanking, but they're pulling worse than the Philadelphia 76ers. They have cut David Harris, their starting middle linebacker. Eric Decker, gone. Brandon Marshall, gone. They have no quarterback. Josh McCown, the Cleveland Brown. Christian Hackenberg, the overrated second-round pick that can't even throw an outside slant. And Bryce Petty, the Baylor guy that just has an arm. So they have no quarterback, and even worse, they have no wide receiver. They have Quincy Enunwa as their starting wide receiver, and Ardavius Stewart, who might be a good player in the future, but he's a rookie, as their two starting wide receivers. Dumpster file written all over it. There's no clear plan except to tank, and no one should expect anything else except a 2-14 season or worse. They play a bunch of tough teams, especially in that AFC East, with playing New England twice, Buffalo with their new front office and their coach, as well as Miami, which we'll see what happens, especially after that Ryan Tannehill injury earlier today. All I'm going to say is the Jets are tanking. Good luck, New York. And expect Todd Bowles, Mike McCagnon to be out next offseason. Thank you for tuning in to the new segment of Touchdown Time. We hope to see you next week as we talk about more information in the NFL. Have a great rest of your day.